Hi, this is Pat Summerall with this weekend's Instant Replays. We're joined by a very special guest, Pro Football Hall of Famer and two-time Super Bowl MVP, Terry Bradshaw. Possessing extraordinary natural talent and a burning desire to succeed in professional football, Terry Bradshaw was the first pick in the 1970 NFL Draft, selected by the last-place Pittsburgh Steelers, who he would lead to 8 consecutive playoff appearances and back-to-back Super Bowl triumphs in 1975 and 1976, and again in 78 and 79.
Super Bowl 13 would have been the first time that I was the reason the Steelers would win the game. Not Franco and our defense, but Bradshaw. And it was different. But, you know, I have to say this. I was coming off my best year ever, and it was the most calming Super Bowl I'd ever been in, Super Bowl 13. I had more confidence than you can imagine. And all the things that were being said by the players and in the media didn't faze me a bit. I was even laughing about it. Thomas Hollywood Henderson can't spell catch spelling the C and the T, and we're going to knock him out, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And I threw an interception in that game. I fumbled a couple, and I had some turnover. I had 3 turnovers myself. But never fazed me. Honest to goodness. Never fazed me. Never once fazed me, because I knew I was in control. I just knew I was going to play well. You just have a feeling. And even though I was the focus of their attention, they had to stop me. They didn't stop me. I had my best game. I'd never thrown for a 300-yard game before, and I had it in Super Bowl 13. So that was kind of nice.
Saddled with the image of a good old boy from Shreveport, Louisiana, few fans and critics acknowledged the football genius of a man who assumed entire control over his offense and called virtually every play during his 14 years on the field with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Handing off to the indomitable Franco Harris and Rocky Blyer, and passing to perennial All-Pros Lynn Swann and John Stallworth, Bradshaw's offense was a deep and explosive threat at all times.
Look, I got a Southern accent. I flunked the ACT test. Took me 5 years, according to these so-called geniuses, before I could ever become a quarterback. Their saying is they won in spite of me. And I say, hey, fine, look, I'm not looking to win the world over here. I'm not looking to be the greatest quarterback. I'm not even looking to be, I don't care, you know, if my name's never mentioned as one of the greatest. It doesn't bother me. Doesn't faze me. That's a lie. It does bother me. Yeah, it does. It does bother me, but I can't control it. So why fight it? You know, why let it, you know, you can only upset me if I choose to let you, you know. That can only upset me if I choose to let you. I can become very egocentric here and very self-centered and very defensive and start naming off all the things I do better in Montana than some of these other guys, but what good does it serve me? Sounds like sour grapes, and it does no good. Hey, look, we won 4 Super Bowls. I got 4 Super Bowl rings. Thank you very much. You know, I'll see you later.
A veteran commentator now with CBS, Terry Bradshaw was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1989 and is now receiving long overdue credit for the inspired leadership and imaginative play that contributed to possibly the most powerful dynasty in NFL history. In an age when today's most celebrated quarterback looks to the sidelines for direction and gains ground on short, high-percentage passes, Terry Bradshaw's accomplishments become all that more significant.
Montana couldn't run my offense. It's too deep. He runs a systematic offense, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I run a read offense where it's very deep and you read coverages, and it's different. It's different. His scheme is designed for him. I admire him. I love his talent, but I won't let people shoot me down. If I have a chance and they want to argue, I'll argue with them. But you accomplish what you accomplish. You set your place in time in history, if there is such a thing, and you go on about your life. And when I retired from football, I put it behind me and went on about my life. People can argue who's the best and whatever, and that's fine. Let them do it. I just soon stay off on the other side of the fence and look in because it has no bearing on my life anymore. And that's part of it. I don't even want to get into that stuff. No, I mean, how do you say who's the best?
For the next 2 hours, I'll be your host as Instant Replay delivers a rare retrospective on Terry Bradshaw. We'll be back with the 1978 NFL MVP Terry Bradshaw after this.
Okay, so the 90s are here. And wasn't this when machines were going to do all the work and we'd have enough leisure time to be creative? Oh, and here's one of the machines, a fax, which we use to order our lunch because we're too busy to eat out. Tell you what, be creative and quick. When it's time to finance or lease your new GM car or truck, GMAC does it all. Right at your Chevrolet, Pontiac, Oldsmobile, Buick, Cadillac, and GMC truck dealer. While you're hardly waiting. Nobody wants to get you into your new GM car or truck faster than GMAC.
55% of people who visit a big city want a hotel that's warm and friendly. 83% like it when the desk clerk remembers their name. And 46% just want a hotel where they can be themselves. That's why there's Holiday Inn Crowne Plaza, the amenities of a big city hotel with the warmth of Holiday Inn. Stay with someone you know who really knows you. Holiday Inn Crowne Plaza. Call 1-800-HOLIDAY or your travel agent.
This is Pat Summerall back with Instant Replay's conversation with Terry Bradshaw. Throughout his athletic career, Terry Bradshaw was the epitome of the natural, possessing overwhelming physical talents and an innate desire to succeed. These abilities were first evident as a 9-year-old little leaguer when Terry stunned his peers with a perfect game, a pair of no-hitters, and 6 shutouts.
Most kids, baseball is the thing that they're drawn to quickest because they can hold a baseball. And when I was growing up, you're talking about the 50s, they didn't make midget footballs. So you couldn't get a midget football. And the first football I got, I could barely hold it or even attempt to throw it. So, they're just too big. So I think a lot of the reasons for the baseball was just the fact that loving sports and not being able to hold the football, it's easier to hold a baseball and you can throw it. And so I think that's the reason most kids do it. But now they have the little bitty tiny footballs and you can get out and throw those, but we didn't have them when I was growing up.
Although success came quicker in baseball, Terry Bradshaw's first love was football, energized by a lifelong commitment to star in the National Football League.
For some reason, for some strange reason, it was always football. I don't have the slightest idea as to why that was. Football, then, I don't assume, obviously, wasn't as popular as it is today. You had 2 networks, and if I'm not mistaken, only one network, really, that was CBS. And you had black and white television sets, and so I don't know what the attraction was, but it was certainly football. That's the thing that I wanted to do, was to be a professional football player.
As a youngster, Bradshaw was confident of his abilities, but frustrated in his initial attempt to make the Oak Terrace Junior High School football team in Shreveport, Louisiana.
I knew I had the ability 2 years before I retired from professional football to play. That's how it went. You always think you could be a little bit better. No, there were so many fun things about, when you get my age, and I'm 42 now, to be able to relive your dream and to be, and you're amazed that it was able to come true. You ever thought about all the millions of kids out there and that have dreams, various types, not necessarily just professional sports, but to have them come true and to be able to work at them and to see that dream come true, to see it fulfilled, It's really quite amazing. So I look back on it now with a great deal of respect for it, and kind of really, it's kind of like I've got it placed up here on a very special plateau, because I realize now more than ever just how amazing it is to be 7 years old and to want something so badly and to see it come true. And then not only to see it come true, not just to get in the NFL, but then to have some success at it. I think one of the keys was you fail so often, you know. I think probably, well, the first thing you become very familiar with in any sport is failing, losing, not starting, not being a starter, not being that good when you are playing. Very hard to accept when your dream is to be a quarterback in the National Football League. And my early years, my early association with football was basically with failing, not making the team. If you can't get into pro ball, if you can't make the team, see. And we were at Oak Terrace Junior High School, and we had been to a coaches meeting in the gymnasium where he gave a talk, and then he handpicked the team. You didn't practice and try out. They were handpicked. I saw him in PE, you know, and I was switching schools, and so this guy hadn't seen me in PE, so therefore he didn't know who I was or anything. He didn't know I could throw the football, and I didn't get a uniform. I didn't get picked. So I went out and was watching them practice. You know how devastating that is to go out and see these guys practicing, knowing they don't love it as much as you, knowing their dreams aren't to go in the National Football League. At least that was the way I looked at it. So I'm sitting over there just eat up inside with jealousy and envy and hurt. And the ball rolled over by me, right in front of me, actually. They were warming up, and I just stood in front of it to hide it from everybody, and the little bitty ball boy came running, you know, he came running over, and I wouldn't let him have the ball. So he went back, I suppose now, to complain to the coach, and there was a few kids standing over there that had also been rejected, and I grabbed one of them and said, come on, let's go over here and throw. So we got off the football field, went on down on the PE field, which was about 100 yards away, and I started throwing the football. I'm sending him out, and man, the 8th grade, I could throw it 60 yards. I mean, I cranked that sucker up, and I'm cranking it up. I'm showing off what I'm doing. I'm auditioning because I want me one of them dang uniforms, man. I got business to do. And I'm just running him long and throwing it and jump passes. And then the coach saw me, and he came after me. He started running. Well, he started walking, and I saw him. Then I thought, hey, I got this football. This sucker's just coming. He wants his football back. And I'm going. And then he said, so I started walking, kind of getting away from him because I was scared. Then he kind of jogged, and I started jogging. Then, I took off running. I hit the cyclone fence, screaming and hollering for my mama. This guy's grabbing me by my ankles, pulling me back down. Finally, he does. Gets me down, tears are flying, and he says, boy, I never seen anybody throw a football like that. What grade are you in? I told him I'm in the 8th grade, and he said, God, come on in, we're going to get you a uniform. Well, he told us they didn't have enough uniforms, but now all of a sudden they got a uniform. So he takes me in, and I got my first uniform.
We'll be back with Super Bowl legend Terry Bradshaw after this.
Taste cool, delicious ice cream and feel warm all over.
Can you imagine? I went on a blind date. He did the most romantic thing. He bought me ice cream. I had strawberry, he had chocolate, 2 scoops with sprinkles. We walked and ate and laughed, and, you know, that was the most delicious ice cream cone I ever tasted.
Enjoy cool, creamy ice cream and feel warm all over. A message from America's dairy farmers and the National Dairy Board.
Do you know there are only 44 sounds in the English language? 44. And when you learn these 44 sounds called phonics, you can read and spell almost everything. That's why Hooked on Phonics is so successful. We've set these 44 sounds to music, making learning to read simple and fun. So get hooked on phonics and take the mystery out of learning to read. Call 1-800-ABCDEFG.
This is Pat Summerall back with Instant Replay's close-up on Super Bowl hero Terry Bradshaw. Once in uniform, the 13-year-old strong-armed quarterback was forced to play middle linebacker on his junior high school team.
That was very disappointing because I didn't want to tackle anybody. Girl cheerleaders like them when they throw touchdown passes, man. This girl's named Dorinda Shaw, boy, and I had my eye on her, and I figured if I got that uniform and throw a few touchdown passes, I'd win her heart, but get anywhere tackling people. Not only that, I didn't like to tackle. It hurt. First game I got to play, I went out and, man, I sacked the quarterback. You know what? I have to admit this. Anticipation of the snap was, and I was a quick little kid. But I remember the first game. I don't know. I can't think of the junior high, but I think I had like 15 tackles and maybe 6 or 8 sacks all by myself from linebacker spot. I could jump and beat the guard center gap before they could block me. And it was fun. And then I did get a sprang. Is it sprang? Springed. I sprung. My knuckle on my hand had a huge knuckle, and the cheerleaders liked that. So I said, well, this might be all right. But when we got in passing situations, the coach would take me from linebacker and put me in to throw the football in passing situations. So it wasn't all that bad.
Playing in the heart of Louisiana football country, Terry Bradshaw fought for the starting quarterback position, winning the role in his senior year as he carried his Woodlawn High School team to the state finals.
But the first 2 years, I went to Woodlawn High School, which at the time was one of the top 5 in the state consistently. Great coach, Lee Hedges, and Hall of Fame coach now. Winningest coach ever, as a matter of fact, in high school football in the state of Louisiana. Went over there and sat on the bench, played junior B ball. They had a quarterback by the name of Trey Prather, who was a parade All-American, and he signed with LSU and eventually quit school and went to Vietnam, got killed. But I played behind him for 2 years, and then finally started my senior year. And we had one returning letterman, who's a nose tackle, Donnie Bowman, and we were picked last in the district. First time ever at school been picked last, other than when it first came into the league. And we won district and went all the way. Lafayette, there was a kid by the name of Ross Brubacher, who was a parade All-American fullback linebacker, drafted later on by the Bears in the second round and went to A&M. And Lafayette High School was one of the top 10 high schools in the country. And we went down there in Lafayette and beat those suckers, beat them down there. And it was the best game I ever played in high school. We didn't throw the football in high school. I averaged 9-10 passes a game, but I threw for a lot of touchdowns. 9-10 passes, I'd throw 3 touchdowns, 50, 60-yarders, stuff like that. Be, 3 for 10 and 3 touchdowns. It was kind of fun, really. But it was my high school experience. Even today, when I talk about football, I go back to high school because that's when it was fun, and then that's when the crowds, and we had such great rivalries, and that's where the first excitement of football. That's where you went out and were introduced to the crowd, and had big crowds in Shreveport. We had 15,000 for all our games. So football in its early stages, I experienced all the newness of it in high school, so that's why I have very fond memories of my high school days.
We'll be back with Hall of Fame quarterback Terry Bradshaw after this.
Do you know there are only 44 sounds in the English language? 44. And when you learn these 44 sounds called phonics, you can read and spell almost everything. That's why Hooked on Phonics is so successful. We've set these 44 sounds to music, making learning to read simple and fun. So get hooked on phonics and take the mystery out of learning to read. Call 1-800-ABCDEFG.
Every morning, thousands of people set out on a business trip. 29% get a late start. 26% forget something. 4% pack a dirty shirt or two. Nobody knows business travelers like Holiday Inn. In 800 cities, we'll hold your room, give you a toothbrush, do your laundry, and make you feel better about being away from home. Holiday Inn. Stay with someone you know who really knows you. Call 1-800-HOLIDAY or your travel agent.
This is Pat Summerall back with Instant Replays retrospective on Pro Football Hall of Famer Terry Bradshaw. Unlike many of his counterparts in professional football, Terry Bradshaw played the game for fun, looking for the same thrills he discovered on his high school football field in Shreveport.
Why would anyone in their rightful mind want to do something that's not fun? Well, you hear people say, well, I can make a lot of money. But are you happy? No, but I'm making a lot of money. Then how sad to me that is to do something just for the love of money when you don't enjoy it, when it's not fun, when you don't love it. So I was lucky. To me, I never could get the kid out of me in football. You know, to me, even when I retired in '84, it was still always to me just a joy to go out and cut up and practice, and never took things too serious. I knew what was going on. But my attitude was, okay, I'm well prepared. Now I can have some fun. Now I can giggle and cut up and pull pranks and get in those big games and have fun. It should be fun. It's just a game. Come on, folks. And that's how I approached it. And that's why I had so much fun with reporters and people who was pulling jokes on them, lying to them, creating all these stories, just because it was fun.
While enjoying his time on the field, Terry Bradshaw never lost sight of the seriousness of his dream, his quest for a starting role in the National Football League.
I was very serious about playing, very focused on what I was doing, very much aware of how important the games were, and especially big games and rivalries and that sort of thing. So, aside from my love and having fun of the game, I took it very serious. You know, you wouldn't want to misunderstand that I was some idiot out there jumping around, screaming, hollering, laughing, and cutting up. That wasn't the case at all. I took it very serious, but even that was fun. It was just a neat feeling. It never got the best of me. I never got too carried away with the big game coming up, and I think that's one of the reasons I was able to play well in big games, because I didn't let them affect me. I kept them in their proper perspective, and it was easy for me to do it because I had always done that my entire career. And football, from junior high, high school on up, I had always had the ability, or had always kept every game in perspective. And so when I got into pro football, it was still in perspective. It wasn't, well, this is a Super Bowl. Well, now's the time for me to panic. And of course not. Now's the time for me to really have some fun. Now's the time. This is what you live for. Now, this is going to be really, as my daughter says, a bunch of fun.
Terry Bradshaw takes pride in his early and sustained record as a big game quarterback.
My record kind of indicates that. And I think it was apparent that I was a big game quarterback, always would have been one, because if you chart my career, you find that in the big games, I always played well. In junior high against a crosstown rival, in high school against the arch rival Byrd, I led the team to the first victory ever in the history of the school against Byrd High School. And all these other All-Americans we had at quarterback, they never did it. And I hadn't played spectacularly up to that point, but I was doing what they wanted me to do. But against Byrd, I set an all kind of record for punting and threw for a bunch of touchdown passes, and then the following week go back to being average again. So and in college the same thing happened. Always, for some reason, had this ability to play well in the biggest games. You know, high school, Lafayette High School was another classic example. But I think if you chart kids, if you go back and look at Montana and you go back and look at quarterbacks now and find out how they performed in all areas and then compare it to pro football, you'll find out they'll parallel that. You're not going to be all of a sudden a great come-from-behind quarterback unless you've done it. It's just something that's there. And I think if you charted, say, Joe Montana, who is unmistakably the premier quarterback in the NFL, I think that when he was at Ringo High School in Pennsylvania, you'll see that he had these same types of traits that he now is displaying for the 49ers. It doesn't change. There are certain players out there that'll throw for a lot of yardage, and then they'll get in the big game, and they'll fall flat on their face. And I don't want to mention any names, but there's there's several out there that when the big game's on the line, they just can't handle it. They just don't play well.
We'll be back with the Pittsburgh Steelers' Terry Bradshaw after this.
"55% of people who visit a big city want a hotel that's warm and friendly. 83% like it when the desk clerk remembers their name. And 46% just want a hotel where they can be themselves. That's why there's Holiday Inn Crowne Plaza, the amenities of a big city hotel with the warmth of Holiday Inn. Stay with someone you know who really knows you. Holiday Inn Crowne Plaza. Call 1-800-HOLIDAY or your travel agent.
Taste cool, delicious ice cream and feel warm all over.
Can you imagine? I went on a blind date. He did the most romantic thing. He bought me ice cream. I had strawberry. He had chocolate. 2 scoops with sprinkles. We walked and ate and laughed, and, that was the most delicious ice cream cone I ever tasted.
Enjoy cool, creamy ice cream and feel warm all over. A message from America's dairy farmers and the National Dairy Board.
This is Pat Summerall back with Instant Replays Look Back with Terry Bradshaw. Many fans will be surprised to learn that future Super Bowl hero Terry Bradshaw was a world-class track star in high school, setting a national javelin record as a senior.
Don't make any money throwing the javelin, though. You don't make a dime. Throwing that javelin was just something that this coach said, boy, oh boy, if you throw this javelin, you'll develop arm strength. Well, you don't run back in the pocket with a football stretched out back over your shoulder. But he just felt that throwing the javelin, since I could throw the football, so he just felt I could throw the javelin. I don't know, why didn't he say I could throw the discus or the shot put, but he said the javelin. And the other thing was, I was clumsy. And this coach, A.L. Williams, decided that if he put me in a track program, maybe run the hurdles and the 220 and the 100-yard dash, and that it would develop my motor skills. It would escalate them, help them come around a little quicker. So that was the reason he put me in the javelin. And then it just so happens, I went on and broke the national record with the darn thing.
Flooded with 200 scholarship offers to join collegiate track teams, Terry Bradshaw never thought twice about his decision to pursue far fewer offers to play college football.
My dream was to play football. Anything that came between the time I initiated the dream until it was fulfilled was just part of the ride. I was going to play football. The javelin was not something I was crazy about doing. When I threw the javelin, very few people saw me throw it. It wasn't something that gathered a lot of attention other than when I broke the national record. And even after that, it wasn't that big a deal. It just was something to do to help the school. But I did get, God knows, hundreds. I mean, literally hundreds from all over the world. I wish I'd have kept those. Maybe my mother did. Maybe she did. I'd like to go back and open up one from Yugoslavia, University of Yugo.
Heavily recruited by LSU, Terry Bradshaw was reluctant to attend the school, which emphasized the rollout quarterback and featured an abundant talent pool where his skills might be overlooked.
Well, my decision was pretty easy. I flunked the ACT test. You have to make 16, I think it is, and I made 15. And then LSU wanted me to take it again, and I took it again, and I think I made like 13 on it. But the thing that was so funny about it is that I never read any of the questions. I just took it because I didn't want to go down there. And I felt pressured. I was young. I'd only played 1 year of starting quarterback. And I was pressured. I was pressured more than my family. My family got some later after I didn't go. It was embarrassing for them, but I just didn't want to go down there. And I didn't want to go just didn't know what I wanted to do because I was scared to death of competition. I had finally got a taste of what it was like to start, and I was afraid that I would go somewhere in a big university and get lost, and I was scared of that because I didn't have any confidence in myself. And the worst thing, I felt like the worst thing I could have done was what I did. I wish I had been mature. I wasn't. I was 16 years old, and just a child, really, a child. I'd grown up under, been sheltered all my life, and never been able to really make decisions on my own, just kind of grew up like that. So looking back on it, obviously people see it as, not going to LSU and then flunking the ACT test is just like disgraceful and stupid, but what the hell? There's a lot of people that flunk the ACT test. So anyway, couldn't get into LSU, couldn't get into a major university. So they wanted me to go to a junior college. Well, they just didn't understand still that I wasn't going to LSU. That was the message I was sending out. So right up before training camp started, I hadn't gotten into any university. I hadn't signed with anybody, and so I signed with Tech. And then you had to take an SAT test. So I took that. Made 1,000, I remember the score, 1,046, which is, not bad. And got in and went over there and played my freshman year. And, we won one game, and I quarterbacked that one game, which was kind of nice. And then my junior year, I split time with Phil Robertson, another quarterback. And he's now a millionaire making duck collars. He used to come to work with fish scales and squirrel tails hanging out of his back pocket and duck feathers and T-shirts and barefooted and talking about ducks and squirrels and deers. And it's all he cared about. And I'm trying to get in the NFL, and this guy's starting ahead of me, and all he wants to do is shoot stuff. So he show up late for practice. So where you been, Phil? Terry, them ducks is flying high today, They're down there, you got 26. 26, well, the limit's 3. You got 26. They used to just slaughter these things. Anyway, he got knocked out. Best thing ever happened to Phil. He got knocked out cold in this one game against a tough Delta State team. And I got a chance to start and played real well. Started the rest of the year off and on, and then the following year, Phil got on into his life's chosen work. He got into making duck collars, and that sucker is rich, man. But college football was the ultimate, man. That's, it wasn't Notre Dame, and it wasn't University of Miami and all that kind of stuff, but it was, to me, it was, McNeese State and Nicholls State and Delta State. That's big time for me, boy. I enjoyed it. At least I was playing.
We'll be back with 14-year NFL veteran Terry Bradshaw after this.
Do you know there are only 44 sounds in the English language? 44. And when you learn these 44 sounds called phonics, you can read and spell almost everything. That's why Hooked on Phonics is so successful. We've set these 44 sounds to music, making learning to read simple and fun. So get hooked on phonics and take the mystery out of learning to read. Call 1-800-ABCDEFG.
Taste cool, delicious ice cream and feel warm all over.
Can you imagine? I went on a blind date. He did the most romantic thing. He bought me ice cream. I had strawberry. He had chocolate. 2 scoops with sprinkles. We walked and ate and laughed, and, that was the most delicious ice cream cone I ever tasted.
Enjoy cool, creamy ice cream and feel warm all over. A message from America's dairy farmers and the National Dairy Board.
This is Pat Summerall back with Instant Replay's focus on quarterback legend Terry Bradshaw. Having made a national name for himself at Louisiana Tech, Terry Bradshaw was selected number 1 in the 1970 college draft by the last-place Pittsburgh Steelers, who finished the season with a 1-13 record.
Well, we had a good program down there. The Steelers had a sorry program. They had lousy players, and it was just a terrible situation I went into. I was the first player picked in the draft, which means I'm going to the worst team. And boy, it was bad. Then I went to a team that had a coach who didn't understand quarterbacks, and so it made it even harder. Plus, I don't think the guy even wanted me in the beginning. I think he was forced to draft me. And the relationship didn't help me. My relationship with Chuck Noll didn't help me mature quite as rapidly as I think I would have. We fought too much, and I didn't like him and stuff like that. So playing pro football, I promise you right now, could not compare to playing college or high school. Because, this was business. People boo you. You know that? You ever been booed? That's a hell of a feeling. Go out and be booed and have stuff thrown at you and beer thrown on your car and shaving cream. And this wasn't what I expected, I thought it was going to just always be hooray, hooray, and carried off the field. I got a rude awakening. It was different.
Amazingly, Bradshaw claims that he threw 30% better at Louisiana Tech than at any time during his storied career in the NFL.
I never threw the football like I threw in college ever again. After my rookie year, I lost all my confidence. I could never snap it off again. I know how it's funny, but back when we were doing that deal in Woodlawn High School this year, I was out throwing in the backyard, and I was snapping it off like I threw it in, just whistling it. But I lost it. I lost my passing touch, my motion. Totally lost it. I lost every ounce of confidence I had. I could no more make a pass spiral or than anything. I had lost total confidence, and I had to develop. I just kept the rest of my entire career, and people will find this hard to believe, I never threw the football the same. From 1 year, for 5 or 6 or 7 weeks, I might be throwing it one way real good, and then it'd go bad in the game. I just worked on so many ways of throwing the football. I'd just go to something else. I never had a standard way of throwing the football after my rookie year. It hurt me in productivity. Because I would have been a lot more accurate in my way of throwing. I would have been a lot more aggressive. I've just had better games, and because you can't do that. What's natural for you throwing, you can't change that. Now I was lucky enough that I did because I had to survive, but to lose it and never get it back to me was just something that damn near devastated me. It really did, and I worked hours after hours and looked at tape or film in college. I couldn't do it. I couldn't mentally create the picture of how I did it. And so I created all these other ways of throwing the football, which was fine. Hold it low, hold it high, try to throw it like Namath, throw it like this, push it with my shoulder. I went in Super Bowl 13, best game I ever played for a half. That was a whole new way of throwing the football. I set the ball on my shoulder and pushed it. Now, you can throw it 100,000 miles an hour and you can throw it 80 yards. But it was the only way. I had to sit it there. I couldn't snap the ball off. My mind would freeze up if I had to snap a ball off. All because of my rookie year.
Floundering under the hostility of Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Chuck Noll, Bradshaw's career was rescued by the arrival of Babe Parilli in Terry's sophomore season.
Babe Parilli saved my career. He came in, patted me on my back, took me aside, stroked me, encouraged me, built up my confidence, because I was at an all-time low. And when things would go bad, Chuck would stay out of it, and Babe would come in. And Babe was the one that led me to Lou Rickey, who used to hypnotize me to help me get my confidence back. So, I mean, people out there listening, I mean, boy, when you lose your confidence in something you love, boy, that's how you make your living. I mean, you're in for a rough go. And so Babe introduced me to is it called hypnosis or whatever? And so I used to get, I still use the words today. Relax, confidence, concentrate. Right in the middle of a game, crucial play, I'd start getting relax. I could call out one word, relax. Call out confidence. Terry, concentrate. And it was just amazing. Damn, this thing, I used it my entire career. I could just pull those words out and just boom. It was just, Babe brought that to me. I love Babe Pirelli. He saved my career. He did. And didn't get any credit for it. We gave him, Buddy Martin and I wrote a book last year together called Looking Deep. Sold 1,500 copies, I think. And in it, we talk about Babe and how important he was, how he was the important catalyst in my career. People don't know that.
We'll be back with playmaker Terry Bradshaw after this.
Every morning, thousands of people set out on a business trip. 29% get a late start. 26% forget something. 4% pack a dirty shirt or two. Nobody knows business travelers like Holiday Inn. In 800 cities, we'll hold your room, give you a toothbrush, do your laundry, and make you feel better about being away from home. Holiday Inn. Stay with someone you know who really knows you. Call 1-800-HOLIDAY or your travel agent.
Remember when futurists talked about the 4-day week and wondered what we'd do with all that leisure time? Well, the last futurist died in his sleep waiting for a car loan at some bank or credit union. He should have seen the future. GMAC. With GMAC, you can lease or finance that new Chevrolet, Pontiac, Oldsmobile, Buick, Cadillac, or GMC truck right at your GM dealers without waiting in line. Now that's as close to leisure as you're going to get. Nobody wants to get you into your new GM car or truck faster than GMAC.
This is Pat Summerall back with Instant Replay's close-up on four-time Super Bowl champion Terry Bradshaw. From 1970 to 1975, Bradshaw vied first with Terry Hanratty and then with Joe Gilliam for the starting quarterback position with little support from the Iceman, Chuck Noll.
You know, it was the greatest period of my life, and I realize that now more than I ever have before, because the 5 years that I was being jerked around, being treated to what, of course, I thought was very unfair, but it tested me. It forced me to grow up. It forced me to get tough, mentally, emotionally, get control of my emotions, and it was the key to me becoming successful. Of course, I would have liked to have had my career start off with a bang, been Rookie of the Year and All-Pro, and that would have been ideal. But for after life, after football, my experiences in the first 5 years have paid greater dividends now in my life, more so than the successes, because I have learned about people. I know how people are. I know how cruel they can be. I know how hard you have to work to become successful. I know how you never can give up on a dream. All these basic, simple things people pay millions of dollars a year to go and get someone to tell them, one of these positive thinking type things you see on television. We all have it. It's all the same. We just have to call on it. And I, for once in my life, was forced to grow up and to call on the things that were deep down inside of me, to find out how I was going to react and respond to adverse conditions. The positive things, the good things in life are easy to respond to because that's a positive, healthy stimulus. But a negative one hurts, and pain is something we all try to avoid. That's why we don't go to doctors, and why we don't do anything. We want to avoid pain. So for 5 years, I had all this pain. Not every game, not every year, but it was an up and down thing. And I had to grow up, and I had to get control of my own destiny and what was going to happen to me. And because of my perseverance, because of my persistence, because of my love for football, I wasn't about to let events and times and circumstances and people change that. So I got control of it, and that's when I started That's when I started turning it in reverse. That's when I started creating stories. That's when I started lying to people. That's in the media and letting them believe, hey, here's this guy that's crazy and like this, but deep down inside was a man driven to success. I had a burning desire to succeed, and on the inside, I had to protect that. But on the outside, I would let them shoot at this guy, this two-personality person. I'd let them have the country hee-haw guy, because that's the one they all played with and attacked. And then deep down inside, I hid the fact of what I really wanted and what I wanted to accomplish. I kept that hidden, and it served me well.
We'll be back with the fascinating second hour of Instant Replay's conversation with Terry Bradshaw in just a few minutes, as Terry reflects on Mean Joe Green, Jack Lambert, Lynn Swann, John Stallworth, the Steelers' 4 Super Bowl victories, and his sometimes nemesis, Steelers head coach Chuck Noll.
Travel arranged through Continental, the only airline with service to every major ski resort in Colorado and throughout the Rockies. Continental, one airline can make a difference.
This is Pat Summerall back with Instant Replay's exciting second hour, as we're rejoined by Super Bowl hero and Pro Football Hall of Famer Terry Bradshaw. Never aspiring to greatness or the Hall of Fame, Terry Bradshaw's goal was to win the undisputed title of starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, a position that was solidified by his winning performance in Super Bowl IX, as the Steelers defeated Fran Tarkenton and the Minnesota Vikings 16-6.
First of all, I never had visions of being great. Never had visions of going to the Hall of Fame. I thought it would be nice to make the Pro Bowl before I retired, go to Hawaii or wherever, that wasn't something high on my list. You know what I wanted to do was win championships. I wanted to experience a playoff game. And then I was hoping I could experience a championship game. And then I was hoping I'd be fortunate enough to experience the Super Bowl game. So those were the things I wanted to do. I as selfish a player as all of us are, and believe me, trust me, there's not a player out here playing today that cares anything about anybody else's performances other than his own. That's the bottom line. We all take care of ourselves. That's our egos, and that's the thing that serves us. And we may win a football game if we stink the joint up. We're not happy. Well, what do they say? What's the common line? Well, what matters most is that we won. And you know that's true. It's just that they don't really believe that. What matters most is that we won, and I played a hell of a game. That's what matters most. But the 75 season, the first 5 or 6 years, no, I didn't lose sight of the fact that, or think that my career, I'd lost it. No, not at all. Not at all. Now, my first couple of years, first 3 years, yeah. Fourth year, I had times in there where I'd get to thinking, you're never going to make it, because I saw kids come in my age and younger than me and excelling right off the bat. But, once again, it's one of those reflections. You go back and you look at your career, and I played in an offense that was run the football and great defense. First 5 years, all we did was run that sucker. And it wasn't until they changed the rules later on in 76, 77, 78 that we started throwing the football. But I never once did I ever think that I missed it, that I had lost it. I'd just be average. Never once did I ever think that. I always thought I was special. Whether or not I was made no difference. In my mind, I always thought I was.
On December 23rd, 1972, in an AFC playoff game versus the Oakland Raiders, the course of Pittsburgh football history took a dramatic turn with Franco Harris' immaculate reception of Terry Bradshaw's fourth quarter pass with 22 seconds remaining in the game.
Well, we won the game. That's what it did. It was a miracle pass, and it was a miracle play. The pass wasn't any good, but it was a miracle play, and it created two things. I think it created the dynasty that was to come on behalf of the Steelers, and it created one of the hottest rivalries for the next 8 years that football has ever seen. And that's what it did. It cheated one team out of a chance to go to the Super Bowl, and it gave us the confidence that now we were one of the elites, and even though we would lose the following week to Miami, hell, I got knocked out in that game. We may have beat them. If they don't do the fake punt, we beat them, and very well could have gone to the Super Bowl then. So my third year. So I think it established us. It created a rivalry and established the Steelers as a potential major force in the NFL.
The Immaculate Reception stirred tremendous controversy over whether the ball first hit the Steelers' Frenchie Fuqua or the Raiders' Jack Tatum before landing into the outstretched hands of fullback Franco Harris. If the ball had hit Fuqua first, the play would have been disallowed, ensuring a Raiders victory.
Tatum was coming north and south, and Frenchie was running east and west. Or Frenchie was going north and south. Tatum came from the west to the east, and collided. The ball came straight back, and the only way that ball could have come straight back is from the impetus had to come from Tatum coming straight at me. With Frenchie running away from the football and holding his left hand up and his right hand under to make the catch, there's no way the ball hits him and goes all the way back straight. The ball would hit his shoulder pad and ricochet off at an angle. But Tatum coming through with a driving force hit the ball right on his shoulder, just boom, and straight out. I mean, that's, just from a law of physics or geometry tells you that he had to be the one to hit the ball. Frenchie claims he knows, and he won't tell anybody, and it's sealed in somebody's fruit jar somewhere under a porch, but I think that's part of his mystique, and it'll always be like that. He likes it that way, but I believe it was a legitimate play. And if it wasn't, who cares? If they'd had instant replay, they'd screwed it up anyway.
Now on the same team with CBS Sports, ex-Oakland Raiders head coach John Madden and Steelers quarterback Terry Bradshaw were on opposite sides of the field during the Immaculate Reception.
John has got up and made a few remarks, and in my 2 or 3 years here at CBS, his remarks were, used to talk about it and cut up a little bit about it. And now it's, he's a little older and I'm a little older, and we don't talk about it anymore. We just don't. It's kind of like, he and I, we don't see each other that much, but we've kind of I feel like we're probably closer now we've ever been. And we're not even close, but we're the dean announcers at CBS in football. And I'm in my 7th year, and he's probably in his 12th year or something like that. So, I mean, we've been around a while, and those things tend to die down, It's hard to pull back emotions for something. You can't do it. And for athletes, it's not even that important. Really, if you've done something, then later on in life it really has no meaning. Because you did it. If you haven't done it, then all you do is talk about what you wish you could have done. Or did. Or what. It does. If you do it, you did it. But the outsiders looking in just stare at you in amazement and awe. But if you do it, just go, well, the Immaculate Reception is great. Well, that's great. That's great. Let's move on to something else.
We'll be back with Pro Football Hall of Famer Terry Bradshaw after this.
Okay, so the 90s are here. And wasn't this when machines were going to do all the work and we'd have enough leisure time to be creative? Oh, and here's one of the machines, a fax, which we use to order our lunch because we're too busy to eat out. Tell you what, be creative and quick. When it's time to finance or lease your new GM car or truck, GMAC does it all. Right at your Chevrolet, Pontiac, Oldsmobile, Buick, Cadillac, and GMC truck dealer. While you're hardly waiting. Nobody wants to get you into your new GM car or truck faster than GMAC.
Taste cool, delicious ice cream and feel warm all over.
Can you imagine? I went on a blind date. He did the most romantic thing. He bought me ice cream. I had strawberry. He had chocolate. 2 scoops with sprinkles. We walked and ate and laughed, and, That was the most delicious ice cream cone I ever tasted.
Enjoy cool, creamy ice cream and feel warm all over. A message from America's dairy farmers and the National Dairy Board.
This is Pat Summerall back with Instant Replay special on Terry Bradshaw. In many ways, football is the ultimate team sport, where a quarterback is dependent on the protection of his offensive line and the guile of his receivers. But in Terry Bradshaw's mind, football is as much an individualistic game as baseball, where the team wins when each player achieves his personal best at bat and on the field.
Why not? Why not? Why isn't football selfish? I think people generally are selfish people. We all serve our own egos. I mean, we all are selfish. We all only care about ourselves. We have friends that we love. We use the word friend a lot, but true definition of friend, we don't have that many. We're lucky if we have one or two really good friends. And when you talk about football players being selfish in a team sport, absolutely. But here, don't misunderstand that. I want 11 people self-centered enough and caring only about their job to excel and be the best at it, because that's going to make my team better. Because if everybody's wanting to be the best, see, then they're going to function within this unit. And I want Lynn Swan to catch more passes than John Stallworth, and I want Stallworth to catch more than Lynn, and I want Benny Cunningham to want to catch more than both of them, and I want Franco want to run the ball inside every play, and I want Rocky fighting to get the ball inside, and I want Sam Davis arguing, let me pull and trap, and Moon saying, let me pull and trap. I want that. I want every one of them to be selfish, and I want them all to have so much pride about their work that they want to be the very best at it, that when they don't, then they feel as though they've let everybody down. Then they become even more hungrier. And you can be selfish, see, and still be part of, and still function within the family, the team. I find nothing wrong with that at all. You should. I like that. You know, you should be selfish. You should want to be the best. You should not be happy when your performances are down, the team still wins. Yeah, I'm happy, but you shouldn't be happy. You know, you shouldn't be. And that's the way I look at it. That's the way I feel about it. I don't know if I had a lousy game and we won, I'm mad because I had a lousy game. But the other side of it is, thank God we won. You know, thank God we won no matter what, even though I stunk the joint up.
Terry Bradshaw's outlook on friendships in the NFL is at times contradictory, sometimes asserting that he had no close friends on the Steelers, and at other times expressing a powerful bond with his teammates.
I know that sounds contradictory, but it really, you know, it's one of those balancing acts. I liked a lot of people and wanted to hang around with them. But also, I didn't have that many people that like to do a lot of the things I like to do. First of all, I like all the players. I can honestly say I liked every player. There's not a player on our team that I didn't enjoy. There's not one player that I can honestly say, you know, I didn't really like this guy. You know, but I enjoyed all those players. I wasn't close to them, but that was my choosing. Because when my hours were long, different than theirs. The pressures were different, and I was the kind of guy that when I was a couch potato after I wanted to go home. I didn't want to go to the bars, and I didn't go out. I stayed home. People bothered me, so I stayed home. On Mondays and Tuesdays, I played golf all day. Nobody else on my team would do that. Well, maybe Cliff Stout, another backup quarterback. So I played golf all day. Nobody on the team would do that. So nobody on the team liked horses, and those that did like horses didn't like the kind I like. So I had to keep my distance, and I kept that distance. But then you cross over that line where you can have all these friends, yet you do have all these friends. But I didn't allow them to really come in to my life. Had I, there's some that would have, but I chose not to. And I don't regret it.
Few of today's most celebrated quarterbacks call their own plays and control the football game as Terry Bradshaw did with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But to Terry's chagrin, Few people appreciated his mastery on the field until the twilight of his career.
That's the story of my life. And look, I got a Southern accent. I flunked the ACT test. Took me 5 years, according to these so-called geniuses, before I could ever become a quarterback. But their saying is they won in spite of me. And I say, hey, fine, look, I'm not looking to win the world over here. I'm not looking to be the greatest quarterback. I'm not even looking to be, I don't care, if my name's never mentioned as one of the greatest. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't faze me. That's a lie. It does bother me. Yeah, it does. It does bother me, but I can't control it. So why fight it? Why let it, you can only upset me if I choose to let you, that can only upset me if I choose to let you. I can become very egocentric here and very self-centered and very defensive and start naming off all the things I do better in Montana than some of these other guys, but what good does it serve me? Sounds like sour grapes, and it does no good. Hey, look, we won 4 Super Bowls. I got 4 Super Bowl rings. Thank you very much. I'll see you later. Played against, do you play against Staubach? Yes, beat him every time. Thank you. Played Friend, beat him every time. So don't come in here and hand me this bull about this guy's better than you and this guy's better than you. And I said, fine, I beat all these guys when I played them. I don't have any problem with that. But if they want to throw it up and he's got a quarterback rating, you can't measure hearts on no stupid quarterback rating. And to me and Montana couldn't run my offense. It's too deep. He runs a systematic offense, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I run a read offense where it's very deep and you read coverages, and it's different. It's different. His scheme is designed for him. I admire him. I love his talent, but I won't let people shoot me down. If I have a chance and they want to argue, I'll argue with them. But you accomplish what you accomplish. You set your place in time in history, if there is such a thing, and you go on about your life. And when I retired from football, I put it behind me and went on about my life. People can argue who's the best and whatever, and that's fine. Let them do it. I just soon stay off on the other side of the fence and look in because it has no bearing on my life anymore. And that's part of it. I don't even want to get into that stuff. No, how do you say who's the best? Nobody ever says Otto Graham, and so what do you say?
We'll be back with the pride of Louisiana Tech, Terry Bradshaw, after this.
Every morning, thousands of people set out on a business trip. 29% get a late start. 26% forget something. 4% pack a dirty shirt or two. Nobody knows business travelers like Holiday Inn. In 800 cities, we'll hold your room, give you a toothbrush, do your laundry, and make you feel better about being away from home. Holiday Inn. Stay with someone you know who really knows you. Call 1-800-HOLIDAY or your travel agent.
Do you know there are only 44 sounds in the English language? 44. And when you learn these 44 sounds called phonics, you can read and spell almost everything. That's why Hooked on Phonics is so successful. We've set these 44 sounds to music, making learning to read simple and fun. So get hooked on phonics and take the mystery out of learning to read. Call 1-800-ABCDEFG.
This is Pat Summerall back with Instant Replays retrospective on former All-Pro quarterback Terry Bradshaw. Exploding with anxiety before the start of his first Super Bowl game against the Minnesota Vikings on January 12, 1975, Terry Bradshaw began to hyperventilate and was plagued with diarrhea and the fear of dehydration. But once the game commenced, Bradshaw's fears vanished as he took command of Super Bowl number 9.
I wasn't jittery. I was scared. I was scared about the first Super Bowl. I was scared of losing because I had been benched, see? I had been benched and had only come back and played very well in the playoff games. But the quarterback I was going up against was Tarkenton, who was having had an all-pro year. And everybody was saying that if Bradshaw doesn't hurt him, we were underdogs, weren't favored, certainly. And I was scared to death, and just scared of losing it, because that's something you dream about, look forward to. So to get there and lose it, to me, was the worst thing that could happen to a person in his profession. You only get there maybe once in your life, and to walk out of there and not win was, to me, can't be. That ruins the dream.
In Super Bowl IX, Terry Bradshaw regained the confidence he had lost during his rookie season, and for the first time in 5 years, felt in total control of his abilities and his offense.
I knew I was going to play well right after the game got started. I knew play well for me wasn't throw for 250 yards. Play well for me was to run a good running game, because I call on all plays. So to play well in that game, I saw what they were doing right off the bat. I was able to apply the audibles and run the trapping game and call all the plays in the audibles and check with me. And I was able to do that. And to me, that was really the telling sign. It was right off the bat. I was very calm, very, very comfortable once the game got started. Not nervous a bit. And when we had to make the big drive at the end to put the game, or to score, to kill the clock, we not only killed the clock but also scored on it. It was just a time-consuming, well-executed drive, and there wasn't anything jittery about it. Once I got out there, I saw what they were doing, and it was just the application, and it worked. It really was not that big a game.
In 1978, Terry Bradshaw enjoyed his finest season, winning the league's MVP award and the first of 2 consecutive Super Bowl Most Valuable Player awards. Suddenly, Terry Bradshaw was more than just one of many stars on the championship Steelers, as the press and public recognized Terry's linchpin role in the team's many successes and occasional disappointments.
When you are not the focus, when you're not the threat to a team, they don't concentrate on you. They don't talk about you. When you're a threat, then people attack you. You know, when you become a threat, they attack you. They try to attack you in a negative way. They test you. They want to get you to thinking. They want to distract you with superlatives and not so much superlatives. And Super Bowl 13 would have been the first time that I was the reason the Steelers would win the game. Not Franco and our defense, but Bradshaw. And it was different. But, you know, I have to say this. It was I was coming off my best year ever. And it was the most calming Super Bowl I'd ever been in, Super Bowl 13. I had more confidence than you can imagine. And all the things that were being said by the players and in the media didn't faze me a bit. Didn't faze me a bit. I was even laughing about it. Thomas Hollywood Henderson can't spell catch, spelling the C and the T, and we're going to knock him out, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And I threw an interception in that game. I fumbled a couple, and I mean, I had some turnover. I had 3 turnovers myself, but never fazed me. Honest to goodness, never fazed me. Never once fazed me, because I knew I was in control. I just knew I was going to play well. I mean, you just have a feeling. And even though I was the focus of their attention, they had to stop me. They didn't stop me. I had my best game. I'd never thrown for a 300-yard game before, and I had it in Super Bowl 13. So that was kind of nice.
We'll be back with 4-time Super Bowl champion Terry Bradshaw after this.
Remember when futurists talked about the 4-day week and wondered what we'd do with all that leisure time? Well, the last futurist died in his sleep waiting for a car loan at some bank or credit union. He should have seen the future. GMAC. With GMAC, you can lease or finance that new Chevrolet, Pontiac, Oldsmobile, Buick, Cadillac, or GMC truck right at your GM dealers without waiting in line. Now that's as close to leisure as you're going to get. Nobody wants to get you into your new GM car or truck faster than GMAC.
Taste cool, delicious ice cream and feel warm all over.
Can you imagine? I went on a blind date. He did the most romantic thing. He bought me ice cream. I had strawberry. He had chocolate. 2 scoops with sprinkles. We walked and ate and laughed, and, you know, that was the most delicious ice cream cone I ever tasted.
Enjoy cool, creamy ice cream and feel warm all over. A message from America's dairy farmers and the National Dairy Board.
This is Pat Summerall back with Instant Replay's focus on CBS sports veteran Terry Bradshaw. In 1979, the Steelers battled to another AFC title to face the Los Angeles Rams in Super Bowl 14. Fearing a real-life version of Warren Beatty's Heaven Can Wait, in which the Los Angeles Rams defeated the Pittsburgh Steelers for the Super Bowl crown, Terry Bradshaw prepared hard and was awarded his second Super Bowl MVP trophy with the spectacular assistance of receivers John Stallworth and Lynn Swann.
I think John Stallworth should have won the MVP. I didn't play my best Super Bowl. Had probably my worst, and he made 2 catches in that game that were just phenomenal. And he was the one that should have been the MVP, not me. He should have been the one. And but you know, for whatever reason they gave it to me, but. He should have been the one in that game because it was a play we'd worked on all week, 70 slot hook and go. Hadn't hit it, hated it. And then in the end of the game, we were behind, and Chuck said, "Look, they're comboing, they're comboing, they're doubling. We can get the inside guy on a hook and get the safety to bite. John can go hook and go." He said, "It should be wide open for a touchdown. We're going to beat these guys throwing deep, and I'm going to beat them throwing short." I'd come out the second half after a takeoff or a post for a touchdown against a blitz, and we'd knocked it back and forth, and so it was third down and something, and we ran 70 slot hook and go, and I laid it out there, and man, he made, you see it all the time on highlight films. He puts his hands around and follows it and just makes a phenomenal catch and goes all the way. And then we get in a third down situation again, and I said, "Hey, this is fun. Let's do it again." He was more open the second time than he was the first, but I felt pressure and laid the ball up a little bit too high and too soon and held him up a little bit, but he made another phenomenal catch. So you never know how a game's going to turn out. Big games always seem to have big plays that make the difference, and 70 slot hook and go was the play to John Stallworth that won Super Bowl 14 for us against the Rams.
The championship Steelers were blessed with the talents of 2 of the game's most talented wide receivers, Lynn Swann and John Stallworth. Initially favoring Swann, Bradshaw developed a quick affinity for Stallworth, another small college star who had something to prove in the NFL.
Early in my career and in Stallworth and Swann's career, Swann was the featured receiver, being a right-handed quarterback. He started earlier than Stallworth, and he had great ability to break plays and great leaping ability. And as John won my confidence, I had a special likeness for him because he was from a small school, because he was fighting that major college thing with Swann. And Lynn was off doing television and commercials, and I could sense that Lynn was leaning more towards television, and John was leaning more towards football. You could tell, and John became really my featured receiver. They both were outstanding, even up to the day that Swann retired. I loved them both, man. I mean, they were 2 classic receivers, and 2 of the best on a team ever. But early in my career, Swann was the featured, and later in my career, it became Stallworth, and they got to be so good. It became it really got to a point where in the HUD I'd go, all right, I want a 160 hook here. Now, I know I could probably throw it to Lynn, but I'll probably throw it to John this time. And see, Lynn's caught 2 last drive. It's kind of you had to balance the 2 of them. In one game, Lynn didn't catch but 3 passes, and John caught 9. And then I thought, okay, so the next week he'd work Swann. I mean, it really was like that. I wanted to try to keep them both involved. And since I called my own plays, and knew the coverages and what they were going to do, I could dictate who was going to be open. So if they'd been smart enough, they'd have been buying me a nice Mercedes-Benz and things I couldn't afford, and I could have taken care of them.
The playmaker for the Pittsburgh Steelers and the genius of their offensive success, Terry Bradshaw was in total control of the team's offensive game.
If you call your own plays, you're in total control. I can set these guys up to do. I can feature anybody I want to feature, really, in the offense I ran. Primarily my 2 wide receivers, because that's all we threw to. And I could just set it up. Like I said, I could go 60 prevent or 62 basic, and I could go 66 dig. I could go 67 dig, depending on how I felt and who I wanted to get in there. And then a lot of times, you'd have a hot hand. You'd go off of a read, and you'd get a guy with a hot hand, and then you'd say, okay. And then or they'd come in the huddle, and they were notorious about this. Hey, I got this guy set. I got this guy set. I got this guy set. And I'd say, okay, let's do it. When you call your own plays, you can do that. And it would work. Most of the time, it would work. I listened to them and let them fight. No, the worst part was when both of them had them set up. I got my man set up. I got my man set up. Okay, then Benny, I'd say, Benny, I'm going to throw to you. Fun. I mean, hell, this ain't it's not a game of geniuses here. It's just a game of athletes. Get out there and find an open spot.
We'll be back with Super Bowl legend Terry Bradshaw after this.
Do you know there are only 44 sounds in the English language? 44. And when you learn these 44 sounds called phonics, you can read and spell almost everything. That's why Hooked on Phonics is so successful. We've set these 44 sounds to music, making learning to read simple and fun. So get hooked on phonics and take the mystery out of learning to read. Call 1-800-ABCDEFG.
55% of people who visit a big city want a hotel that's warm and friendly. 83% like it when the desk clerk remembers their name. And 46% just want a hotel where they can be themselves. That's why there's Holiday Inn Crowne Plaza, the amenities of a big city hotel with the warmth of Holiday Inn. Stay with someone you know who really knows you. Holiday Inn Crowne Plaza. Call 1-800-HOLIDAY or your travel agent.
This is Pat Summerall back with Instant Replay's conversation with Terry Bradshaw. Despite his many unpleasant moments with Steelers head coach Chuck Noll, Terry Bradshaw still speaks highly of his one-time adversary.
Chuck Noll deserves all the credit he can get. It's because personalities conflict. Doesn't mean the man's not a brilliant coach. The 4-3 system, the stunt 4-3, and the trapping game with the small linemen, control passing, primarily deep because of my strong arm. He was and he did put together the game plan. The game plan very seldom changed. It was just add a few plays here and take away a few plays there. You never changed the game plan. The game plan it's just application. You take 1 week you run 62 basic from full right split. Next week you run from half left split opposite. Same stuff. It's no big deal. It's not complicated. You don't sit down and we didn't script our stuff. It was just, well, here's what we want to do. Here's what they do. I'd study it and say, okay, 1st and 10. Here's what I got, and it just wasn't that hard to do. He deserves all the credit he can get. He made the drafts with low-round draft choices that became all pros, and although he wasn't a good people person, I think he probably is more one now, but he still has some venom in him. Chuck's a pretty tough person, but there's a soft side to him too. But he's a very thorough coach. He's a coach that we did very little, very much Lombardi-like in the sense that we didn't do a lot, but what we did, we practiced against every possible front. And you know what he taught me? He didn't teach me offense. He taught me defense. I know defense is inside and out. I could take one play and you could throw up anything at me and I could tell you just from the snap of the ball exactly where I'm going with it because he taught me so well. He was a defensive coach. So he taught me defense. So I know even now more about defense than I know about offense because that's how I was taught as a quarterback. I was taught defenses.
Arriving in Pittsburgh in 1970 created a bit of a culture shock for Terry Bradshaw, who had attended all-white schools and played on all-white teams throughout his young life. Eager to learn and make friends, Bradshaw befriended AFC Rookie of the Year Mean Joe Green, who would be his best friend on the team in years to come.
Joe Green was, I don't know why he did it, but he did stick up for me. I think he felt sorry for me. He saw that I was just a man-child, and I think he felt sorry for me. And plus, they respected him, the media. So when he spoke, they listened. And he told them to leave me alone, leave him alone. He's going to lead us to the championships. Well, they didn't leave me alone, but he did stick up for me, and it did build a relationship that even to this day, it's an affectionate one, because when we see one another, we have to hug one another. He's a very special person, and I'm very close to him. I don't ever see him, very seldom talk to him, but I admire him and have a great deal of respect for him, because he came to bat for me, and that means a lot. That means a lot. I'll never forget that.
A Hall of Famer and possibly the greatest defensive tackle of all time, Joe Green was vastly overweight during his early years with the team.
He was fat. My rookie year, he was fat, and I tell him all the time, you couldn't even run around the goalpost. He did whatever. His nickname was Mean Joe Green, so obviously nobody fooled with him because the guy had a nasty attitude. But he was the meanest, cheap shot son of a gun. He cheap shot you, your mother and your kid. He was amazing. Big, strong, quick, and mean. And that's Frank Tarkenton. He got him in New York at the Yankee Stadium about 8 yards out of bounds and tried to kill him. But he was a guy that was not in shape. My early years, he got in. He as we started getting better, he got better, and then all of a sudden, when we started winning, I mean, he was the focal point of our whole defense, and he made the Pro Bowl every year, and he was amazing. And I saw him grow up too. But I'll never forget my rookie year. I saw him come around that goalpost. I mean, he danced to his own tune, and I thought, my God, that's Mean Joe Green, huh? Boy, he must have weighed 320 pounds. And then later on, he played about 275, 280, maybe. And but he'd just steal footballs. He'd steal football from the center, throw it in the stands. He'd get kicked out more games than I ever saw. Steal a helmet off the centers and beat them up, wipe people out. Steal a throw them, smash them, beat people up. If you held him, he'd warn you. Then he'd get to do something to you bad. He was a piece of work, Joe Green.
We'll be back with two-time Super Bowl MVP Terry Bradshaw after this.
Okay, so the 90s are here. And wasn't this when machines were going to do all the work and we'd have enough leisure time to be creative? Oh, and here's one of the machines, a fax, which we use to order our lunch because we're too busy to eat out. Tell you what, be creative and quick. When it's time to finance or lease your new GM car or truck, GMAC does it all. Right at your Chevrolet, Pontiac, Oldsmobile, Buick, Cadillac, and GMC truck dealer. While you're hardly waiting. Nobody wants to get you into your new GM car or truck faster than GMAC.
Do you know there are only 44 sounds in the English language? 44. And when you learn these 44 sounds called phonics, you can read and spell almost everything. That's why Hooked on Phonics is so successful. We've set these 44 sounds to music, making learning to read simple and fun. So get hooked on phonics and take the mystery out of learning to read. Call 1-800-ABCDEFG.
This is Pat Summerall back with Instant Replay's close-up on Super Bowl hero Terry Bradshaw. Terry Bradshaw yearns for the simpler and rougher days of an earlier era of NFL football.
I want football to get back to where it used to be, where we have bump and run and fights and controversy, get rid of the instant replay. We've gotten too pretty and too specialized, too cute. We're paying too much money for these players now, and they're wearing earrings and ponytails, and sheesh. It's not the kind of game that I loved. It's not the kind of game that I liked. I love the Raiders and the Steeler rivalries, and the old Cowboy-Steeler rivalries, and and the old Redskins-Cowboy rivalries, and bump 'em and grind 'em and fights, and I mean, that was football, mud and cold. I got a lot of Madden in me about that. I like that. And now we've got agents that are controlling our games and salaries and bringing in other networks to help soak up the loss that the three key networks can't pay out all the money. Now we got Turner, ESPN, next it's Fox, next it's pay-per-view. Before you know it, there's so damn much football on television. So football has gotten too electronic, and we need to get it back to where it used to be. That's the way it should be played. Nasty fights and kicking guys out, and that was, to me, that's what football, that was the attraction of it. And now it's too pretty. That's pretty uniforms. Everything's pretty, and everybody's, it's not the kind of football I like.
The four-time Super Bowl champion Pittsburgh Steelers were a motley crew made up of fiercely independent personalities, such as All-Pro Jack Lambert, who, along with the Chicago Bears' Dick Butkus, was the finest middle linebacker Terry Bradshaw ever saw.
I didn't know him that well. I wanted to, but I was afraid to, I think. He had a quick tongue and a quick temper, but it was as much show, I guess, as it was anything now that I look back on it. I admired him and used to watch him. I used to get a kick out of him, but I'd dare go over and I never tried to make friends with him. Hanratty was his best friend. I didn't, and he was always messing with him and cutting up with him and insulting him, and so they had that special relationship that few players have. So I didn't really know Jack that well. Blunt was a more intimidating. Both of them were very intimidating. Blunt was very intimidating at corner. He was a big man, 6'3", about 2'8", and he was a talker and a jabber and a finger pointer, and so you put him at corner, Lambert at middle linebacker, and Joe Green at tackle. And then you had Ernie Holmes, who shot down a helicopter in Cleveland. I mean, we had some nuts play. We had some crazy. And then we had a Polish linebacker named Ham. We had some pretty interesting characters on our football team, and that kind of makes for some interesting copy, I would think.
In contrast to Major League Baseball, where managers often befriend their players and teams develop strong post-retirement relationships with hometown stars, NFL football, in many cases, remains a cold sport where the front office rarely rewards long-term service and excellence once a player's career has concluded.
I don't know why it's like that. Coaches don't have time to spend in developing friendships with football players, and we're not together as long as baseball. We're only together about 4.5 months a year, and it's changing now because of the off-season program, and they're paying the players to stay in the city and work out. So maybe you'll see some of that change, but for the most part, players and coaches, they part ways and go on about their lives. You don't see the relationships at all. You don't see it with Tom Landry in Dallas, and you dang sure don't see it with Chuck. They just don't get close to their players, and I think one of the reasons is I think it's because they have to cut people. They have to move and trade people, and maybe a protective device that they use to isolate or insulate themselves from their true feelings towards a player so they can make the proper decisions. And why now? There's no excuse for a guy like Chuck not writing me a letter no matter what happened and congratulate me on the Hall of Fame, because it's as much a credit to him as it is anybody else. But he didn't, and so you get the impression, or at least I would, that what I thought was about him was right all along, and I went to Pittsburgh and wrote him a letter. I haven't heard back from him, so the guy doesn't like people, or at least doesn't like me, and I can live with that. I think it's kind of funny. Because here's this guy that just, you know what it's like to know somebody doesn't like you? It's kind of, it's like, well, okay, that's good. That's all right. I asked Mel Blanc, I said, did Chuck write you a letter when you got inducted to the Hall of Fame? He said, nope. So we started this thing about never got a letter. Remember that thing about never got a dinner? We started doing this thing about never got a letter. So it became a joke for us, but it's just the way he is. Now, he did write Franco a letter, because Franco told me he did, but Franco doesn't like him. And Star Wars, nobody hangs around, nobody goes back. They had a day for him, I wouldn't go, and probably 90% of the team wouldn't go. You know, you make that bed, you lay in it.
We'll be back with veteran CBS sportscaster Terry Bradshaw after this.
The average married couple now spends only 4 minutes a day in serious conversation. So make it count. Tell your spouse the next time you finance or lease a new GM car or truck, you're going to talk to GMAC. With GMAC, you do it all right in the GM dealership. And instead of waiting in line at a bank or a credit union, you'll be out on the road in your new Chevrolet, Pontiac, Oldsmobile, Buick, Cadillac, or GMC truck. All we ask is that you tell your spouse where you're going. Nobody wants to get you into your new GM car or truck faster than GMAC.
Do you know there are only 44 sounds in the English language? 44. And when you learn these 44 sounds called phonics, you can read and spell almost everything. That's why Hooked on Phonics is so successful. We've set these 44 sounds to music, making learning to read simple and fun. So get hooked on phonics and take the mystery out of learning to read. Call 1-800-ABCDEFG.
This is Pat Summerall back with Instant Replays close-up on NFL legend Terry Bradshaw. Now a veteran announcer with CBS Sports, Terry Bradshaw's ties to the Pittsburgh Steelers have long been severed.
When you finish playing and you've played this many years, that stuff goes out the window. I keep up with my university, and I keep up with the Pittsburgh, and every time they're on television, I watch them. But, you know, when they lose, I go about my business. But I do keep up with them naturally, absolutely. They are the team I look for in the paper and stuff like that. Emotional ties are none.
This is Pat Summerall, and we hope you've enjoyed this week's special edition of Instant Replay. And be sure to join us next week for another exciting edition of Instant Replay, when we'll be joined by NFL rushing legend Jim Brown.
Travel arranged through Continental, which is taking off this fall with daily departures to Frankfurt. Continental to Germany. One airline can make a difference.
Instant Replay is a James Moskowitz production.